They're both coming off dismal 3-9 seasons. Both hail from the Big Ten. Both opened the season on foreign soil. Nebraska, Northwestern from Dublin, Ireland, part of the Week 0 schedule. Northwestern, the home team in this matchup. Nebraska originally scheduled to play in Ireland to open the 21 campaign against Illinois. That game canceled for the uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, let's get some insight on that and more as Week 0 and college football is back. Our insiders, Barrett Sallee and Chip Patterson, and it's the third college football game that played at Aviva Stadium in the last decade, last being Georgia Tech and BC back in 2016. Gentlemen, Scott Frost has Texas transfer Casey Thompson under center in a make-or-break season for him. The Huskers favored by 13, the total here at 49 and a hook. So, Chip, what's the play?
Oh, this is too many daggum points. And how great it is for me to be able to say that as college football is indeed back. But I look at all of the intangibles going on here. You mentioned Casey Thompson as the new starting quarterback. Mark Whipple is our new offensive coordinator. We've got a lot of turnover on the roster, and Northwestern has some as well. But I just got to think that a Nebraska program, which, by the way, did not perform well in Week 0 last year. You know, we only have a small sample size for Week 0, but Nebraska's history, it ain't great. And while I do think Nebraska ends up winning this game and avoids the utter disaster that would be having to come back to the States with Scott Frost already on the hottest seat in America, I think that this is just too many points against a Northwestern team that is going to try to slow this thing down, that is going to try to keep it close. Nebraska, with all of its turnover, with as many uncertainties as there are, I just don't think I can trust them to cover 2 entire touchdowns.
Too many dadgum points. You're right, Chip. Almost 2 touchdowns. There's absolutely no reason to take the Cornhuskers here. And they might win, like Chip said, they might win. But when you look at Northwestern, they've actually got a really healthy quarterback situation. I think Ryan Helinski, the former South Carolina starter, is going to take that job. He had some success last year as well. Brendan Sullivan, a guy who probably would get the snaps if it's not Ryan Helinski. But look at what Northwestern is. They're strong up front on the offensive line. That is not good going up against a Nebraska defense that is going to have to perform significantly better than last year. And I think Chip mentioned Mark Whipple, and I think it's very interesting that this new offense is Mark Whipple's coming from one where he slung it around all over the place, sometimes forgot to even run the football when he was supposed to. Is Casey Thompson able to handle that? Are you going to put that on his shoulders in Week 0 across the pond with all of that pressure on Scott Frost's shoulders? I don't think so. Too many dadgum points. I would maybe do a little money line sprinkle too, just in case.
Both in agreement there then. Elsewhere, Illinois kick off their season at home as they host Wyoming for the first ever meeting between the teams. The Cowboys were 5-0 in non-conference games last season, but Illinois 11-point favourites in this one with the total set at 44. Barrett, what's your play here?
Yeah, I mean, Illinois, you kind of, after what happened last year, I don't want to take too much of what happened from Week 0 last year into this year, but Illinois kind of jumped and surprised some people. And you look at what the DNA of that Illinois team, it's like perfect for what Brett Bielema wants it to be. Tommy DeVito is there from Syracuse, a very efficient passer. They can run the dang football with Chase Brown. They got a fantastic tight end in Luke Ford, transfer from Georgia, who's just been waiting to burst on the scene. So I think when you look at Illinois, it just matches up well against a Wyoming team that is replacing virtually everybody on defense. So I think Illinois, a 2-touchdown win, yeah, I think that's likely. I think maybe the history and the fact that Brett Bielema has not been successful in Champaign may be bringing this line down a little bit, because in reality, I think it should be a 2-touchdown game. I'll take the Illini. I'll take them to win. I'll take them to cover.
Yeah, I like that right there. And I think that when we get a little bit later in the week, the play that I might be eyeing is an Illinois first half play. Once the sportsbooks start offering that, I worry that maybe the Fighting Illini might ease off the gas a little bit in the second half. They do have a quick turnaround before they play Indiana, a conference game after this Week 0 contest. But this is an unrecognizable Wyoming team. So much lost to the transfer portal, the completely rebooted roster, the success that Wyoming has had under Craig Bowl. I just don't think we're going to see it this year. This is a time where I think we can take advantage of these rosters in the transfer portal era that have really flipped, because the power rating is is going to have last year's results, and we don't simply have last year's players. Illinois, I think, is going to win this game. I like Barrett's play to cover, but I just don't know how many points Wyoming's going to be able to score. Levi Williams off to Mountain West rival Utah State. Again, just across the board. Isaiah Nayor off to Texas. Hurt now, but certainly not there helping the Cowboys. I just think that Wyoming's going to struggle to score. Wyoming's going to struggle in this game, and if Illinois eases off the gas because they want to keep things in the tank for Indiana, then this ends up going under.
Yeah, Illinois, gentlemen, they're the week 0 champs, aren't they? They get it done in week 0, Illinois.
They're fighting Tom Fernelli's.
That's right. Florida State's home opener comes against the Duquesne Dukes, marking the first time these two teams will meet on the field. Duquesne, though, no slouch. They closed last season with a 44-0 romp of Wagner. The Seminoles are looking to start 1-0 under Mike Norvell, and 1-0 for the first time since 2016. That was a win against Ole Miss in Orlando. Barrett, how do you see it?
Well, if they don't get one this week, then Mike Norvell might be looking for a new job this time next week, because this one would be inexcusable. But I think for me, it's just all about fluidity of that offense. I think there's a lot of faith in Jordan Travis. Mike Norvell has had that kind of faith in him at quarterback for over a year now. But one thing that's been consistent, I'm talking consistently bad at Florida State, dating back to even the late Bobby Bowden era, is that offensive line. But you look at the depth chart they released this week, 4 guys with starting experience, 4 upperclassmen. Generally speaking, that means stability offensively, consistency offensively. So that's what I'm looking for Florida State against Duquesne. And then what does the back end of the defense look like? Honestly, I think it's fun and it's easy and it's sometimes lazy to pile all over Florida State. The back end of that defense is actually really, really good. It might be one of the best secondaries in the entire ACC. So, look, they're going to beat Duquesne. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I just want to see consistency up front from the offensive line and see just how good that secondary is.
Yeah, I like that secondary call, Barrett. Jamie Robinson's is just an alpha. Also, Jared Verse, our FCS transfer from Albany. We'll see how he performs here. But I think that as Jordan Travis continues to build confidence, continues to try to get his feet under him with this passing game, Florida State's wide receiver room is an advantage, and I think that it will certainly be an advantage against Duquesne, but there is a potential that what they're able to build, the chemistry, the rhythms and routines they're able to establish playing at home are going to give them a better chance against that incredibly stiff test going up against LSU in a neutral but definitely not neutral game in New Orleans on Sunday night. And look, the LSU defense, we are used to them having terrific defensive backs, but I do think that after all of the roster turnover, that might be a spot, if there is a spot where Florida State's offense is going to be able to have some success. It's going to be with those wide receivers trying to win one-on-one battles, and so that's what I'm looking for. With Florida State against Duquesne, it's all about looking ahead, trying to scout this team for a massive game against Brian Kelly and LSU.
All right, well, speaking of looking ahead for our next game, no lines out on this one between Florida A&M playing the Tar Heels. FAMU have lost 27 straight against FBS teams, looking for their first win since 1979. Chip, what are you looking for in this game?
Is Drake May ready for the spotlight? And I do believe that the redshirt freshman, former blue chip quarterback that Mac Brown named as his starter this week, I do believe that he is going to have a long-term high ceiling, but they are turning the reins of this offense, which we have seen be very productive and prolific under Sam Howell. We are turning it over to him at a very young age. This will be a first career start. This will be an opportunity for him to come out and show out to try to get things going before the Tar Heels have 2 straight road games, first at Appalachian State, then at Georgia State, before they return home for Notre Dame. That's not easy. And so what are you going to be able to build into here? Because Antoine Green, one of the only other experienced wide receivers, went down with an injury in camp. Josh Downs is clearly an All-American candidate. But beyond that, we are really green. We are really inexperienced. And so the skill players that are going to have to step up, who is it going to be? Drake May, are you ready for the spotlight? And then finally, Gene Chizik taking over as defensive coordinator at North Carolina went a little under the radar because North Carolina fell so woefully short of expectations last season. But Gene Chizik also has been at North Carolina as a defensive coordinator before. He helped them go to 11 wins and an ACC championship game appearance. So can he have a similar result with talent that has not yet performed to that talent so far under Mac Brown on the defensive side?
Yeah, I just want to see what the offense looks like under Drake May, because I think from a skill set standpoint, pretty similar to what Hal brought to the table, but I think he's a little bit more mobile than Hal, but maybe not as accurate deep downfield. So how does that fit into what offensive coordinator Phil Longo wants to do? I think there's one thing we do know about Phil Longo is he absolutely changes his system and his tendencies to fit his players. One of the best in the business when it comes to that, and he likes to run up tempo. And I think the fact that May is going to get first team snaps essentially all week this week and pretty much the last couple of weeks as well with some second team mixed in shows to me that they're trying to sort of fine tune exactly what this looks like. And then you can use this FAMU game as sort of a test. Because like Chip said, it needs to be an audition early because there's some landmines coming up in North Carolina's future.
I don't know. That FAMU Rattlers logo looks awfully intimidating.
Are you going?
Well, the band is great.
All right, the Jerry Kill era, New Mexico State football officially kicks off. Aggies getting Nevada, and yes, Ken Wilson making that debut. He helped turn around defenses at Washington State and Oregon. His Wolfpack favored by 9 in a game that features a total of 50 and a hook. Chip, what's your read on this kickoff?
Aggies and get it now. This thing has been dropping just like a stone in the water. 12, 11 and a half, 10, 9 and a half, all the way down to 9. Why? Because very, very similar to an example we talked about earlier with Wyoming, this Nevada team will not resemble the Nevada team of old. Not only do we have the coaching change with Ken Wilson coming in to take over as Jay Norvell left to go to Colorado State, he also took some assistant coaches with him. He also took some of Nevada's most important players with him. The exodus to the transfer portal has been so significant that I do not think it is possible for us to have a correct number on where Nevada stands against the average FBS team. Granted, New Mexico State over the last couple of years has been one of the 5 worst FBS teams out of the 130 FBS teams. But you mentioned Jerry Kill coming in to take over. Let's go down to a coaching matchup if you're trying to split hairs here. Jerry Kill, who did have success at Minnesota, who we do look at as a plus value coach, especially stacked up against the other 130 coaches. Ken Wilson, first time ever being a head coach. Again, this thing has been dropping rapidly. If it gets under a touchdown, then maybe I'll back off. But I do think that the home dog, New Mexico State Aggies, it's absolutely worth grabbing those points.
The Wolfpack with 2 words, Wolf Pack, but grab those 9 points because they're going to win by double digits. And I think when you look at what Nevada looked at, the coaching change is there. I get it. They can still run the dang football. Toa Tau is a really good running back. And look, yeah, it might be ugly. But in a case like this, week 0, just get in, get out, ugly up the game. And I think that's exactly what they'll do. They will limit possession from New Mexico State. They will wear down that Aggies defense and pull away, win by double digits. This is not going to be an aesthetically pleasing game by any stretch of the imagination. Casual fans that are tuning into college football in week 0 just because it's football, you're not going to be entertained by this one all that much. But they can run the football. Nevada, I think, runs away late, so grab those points in the Wolf Pack. 2 words.
All right, then. Let's see if we're in agreement for this final one. Vanderbilt and Hawaii will go head-to-head. It's not a bad trip, is it, for the Commodores to start the season, but they were 0-8 against SEC teams last season and 2-2 in non-conference play. They're favored by 8 here, though. Who do you favor, Chip?
Oh, I'm going with the Commodores. And it's not just because we've got a shiny new V that we are going to be debuting here as with that logo change. It is because I think that this is a team that has gotten faster. I think this is a team that has gotten a little bit longer. And I think that while there have been some transfer portal exits, just because they were leaving doesn't necessarily mean that they were even a good fit. I will say Tyler Steen would have been nice to have right now, but a lot has been made over sort of the transfer portal exodus. But I think that this staff is very happy with where the roster is. And frankly, they know that there's nowhere to go but up. Of the 2 non-conference games they won last year, one of them was against Colorado State, a Mountain West team, of which Hawaii is. And the Warriors are kicking off the Timmy Chang era. And for all the feels and all the vibes and all the, oh my gosh, I'm getting old, Timmy Chang is actually a head coach moments that are going to be had on this Saturday night, Vanderbilt looks at this as a great opportunity to continue to build. I think Vanderbilt's going to hit its win total by the end of September, and winning at Hawaii is a part of that, and so I think they cover as well.
I think they get the win as well, but I would go ahead and grab those points with the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And look, I think emotions are going to play a part of this, right? The Timmy Chang era, you hit on it, Chip. That is their native son. They're going to want to have something special. So I think you're going to see Timmy Chang pull out all the stops against the Commodores. And they've got 3 quarterbacks that I think they can use. And I expect to see Cameron Cooper, the Washington State transfer, quite a bit as a change-up quarterback. So they're going to keep that defense for Vanderbilt guessing. And because of that, I think it's going to be on Mike Wright to go make a couple plays to win the game for the Doors. I think he will. I think Mike Wright is a very underrated quarterback. Got the pleasure of talking to him last month, I should say, in Atlanta. If you don't know the name, get to know it. You'll see a lot of him on Saturday night in Hawaii. He'll do enough to get them the win, but I think Hawaii, with that emotion on their side, they at least keep it within a touchdown.
All right, so Barrett taking the home side there. I like it. And as Sherry Burris is actually going to be in Hawaii, isn't she?
She went there kicking and screaming.
Does she need any help, do you think? Maybe we can go and be assistants for her. Chip, Barrett, top stuff. Thank you so much. So much to look forward to. Let's take another look at their picks, shall we? They're both in agreement with Northwestern over Nebraska. Chip likes the under 44 between Wyoming and Illinois, while Barrett is backing the home side there. They're both in lockstep, though, with FSU and North Carolina to get the job done in their games. But Chip is taking New Mexico State, while Barrett likes Nevada, and split once again at the bottom with Vanderbilt and Hawaii.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.